Mr. Hall.
Joseph Hall. Hello, Joe. If you want to finish handing out those handouts, that'd be great. Thank you.
Sorry, of course the speechies are responsible for not getting the trains to run on time, and I really hate to interrupt all of this beautiful communication that is happening as we prepare to start a presentation called Communication Matters. But I'm going to break up all this great communication that is happening so that you can all get out of here and enjoy this gorgeous fall day. It is incredible outside. So my name is Heather Davis Cuevas, and feel free to call me Heather Davis Cuevas because that's what everybody does. And my compatriot is circling the room with our handouts because we respect the last minute, and that's how we like to do things. And his name is Joseph Hall, and we make up the two speech therapists, hello there, Joe, who serve on the Parkinson's and Atypical Parkinson's teams for the UNC Movement Disorders Clinic. So looking out in this room, I see some lovely familiar faces and some new faces, and so I apologize to those of you who have heard me at various functions wax philosophic about the same things. But welcome to the new faces, and I brought Joe this time, so maybe, it will liven it up a little bit. So today we're going to talk about some of the difficulties that could be expected, or I don't even like to say it that way. We're just going to talk about communication and why it's important and what we can do to enhance communication between one another. Our handout that we have created has a lot of technical information, and they're just things that you'll think about when you go to talk to your therapist, your speech therapist, about what's going on for you at work or in your family or with your loved ones. We're going to talk about strategies for managing some of those challenges and get you start thinking about what your action plan is going to be. So, oh, hey, you know what? Let's try this again. Okay. No, maybe? I got it. Okay, that's the objectives. Great. And so the question for you all is, and I want you to do like a little think, pair, share, okay? The question is, what is communication? So just take 2 minutes to turn to the people at your table, maybe your friend you came with, and I just want you to think, we're going to give it a whole minute to think about what is communication, okay? So now you can talk again. Go for it. What is communication? For me, or touch. Oh yeah.
Facial expression.
That's right. And it's about connecting.
Well, that I think is probably the most important.
I agree. I like this activity because it makes people talk, and then when you go to ask for people to say something, they're cute. Because they feel like they can share maybe not even what they said, but what somebody else said. So it's called think, pair, share. Normally give like a minute to think, a minute to pair, and then to share.
Shoot.
Oh, thank you so much.
Oh, gotcha.
So it wasn't your fault.
There we go. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so let's throw out some things. What is communication? Anyone? Bueller? The Magna Carta. Okay, no. So what is communication? What does it mean? What is it to y'all? Relating via words and expressions. I love that.
Transferring ideas.
Transferring ideas. I love that.
It's a two-way street.
A two-way street. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Speaking and listening.
Yes, Lord. Speaking and listening. Healthy marriage. I love all those ideas. Anything else, or do we think we kind of covered most of it? Joe?
So Heather and I were talking about that as well as everybody was talking, and Heather brought up the final bullet point on this slide, connecting. It's, that's one of the most important things about communication. It's being heard, it's being understood, it's understanding what your communication partners, where they're coming from and what they're saying and what their thoughts are. And that can be through speech, that can be through gesture, touch, eye contact,
The mom
facial
eye.
expression. What else you got?
I was just giving everybody my mom eye.
Yes. Very
Right.
skilled with that one.
Ooh. So, really,
Oh, this isn't following. Okay, gotcha.
oh, right, because it's, right, we're on it, yeah, so
Okay.
yeah, you're in charge of
Got it.
that one, I got the clicker. Okay, so the question really becomes, how has your diagnosis impacted your quality of communication? Okay, so if you're here with a care partner, a loved one, a brother, a sister, take a minute and just kind of talk about that. Okay, so we'll take another minute, and this one, we're not going to coerce you to share unless you want to, but we would love to hear, this is really what we're here talking about. How do you think your diagnosis has impacted the quality of your communication? And it could be with the person at your table, it could be with people at work, it could be with your children, it could be anywhere. It could be like trying to order a Big Mac at a drive-through.
I find my words easier, but more emotional than the words I can say.
If anybody wants to share. Yeah. And then,
We'll talk about why should we care about
okay, so don't get into strategies. You know what you can do about that? Just hold
So
off
we're
on that.
gonna talk about
You're gonna talk about it.
right, because that's basically, we'll get to that, well, probably all we'll get to, because we're supposed to finish at 1:35.
Oh, we have 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good, right? Or you think people are still wanting to hash it out?
And maybe even asking the question of like what strategies have you used to overcome those things? As a follow-up, you know what I mean? Okay, I know this is maybe a little bit more personal, and I'm sorry to rush you. I'm just trying to make sure that we finish on time. We were late. Does anybody feel comfortable sharing a way that they feel like the diagnosis has impacted them or their family or their community? Hey, girl, how are you? It cuts down on communication. So you feel like you participate less? It- Having to repeat yourself, yeah, and that gets frustrating sometimes. I said Joe was going to field these, but I love talking to people. I'm sorry, go ahead,
Yeah,
Joe.
you're doing great.
On the microphone.
Yeah, good idea.
There you go.
That's a great idea.
Vanna Black.
Are you done? Ba-dum-bum. Anybody else? Okay.
Hi, my husband was always the jokester, and he has a really good sense of humor. But now, because he has such trouble speaking, it's like his punchlines, he can't get them out fast enough, and it's very frustrating to him because he can't participate in a humorous he can't participate very much at all, but what really bothers him is not being able to communicate or participate at a humorous level.
And we will talk a little bit about some ways to start thinking about what to do about that. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? What? Oh,
My husband has difficulty with drooling, so he often can't even respond because he has to swallow and then try to find the words, and they get confused. So Yeah, it definitely has impacted his ability to communicate, and his sense of humor is gone.
Right. Because comedy's so much about timing, for sure. Yeah.
I think one thing that I try to do with folks, I used to run a nursing home, so I've dealt with this kind of thing a long time. But I try to meet them with humor, especially if I know that person, and you can do it with humor and it not be offensive to them. But try to give them the time that they need to respond, and that's our way of respecting where they are. But the other thing is, and I tease a lot, and I play with people with their mind, and I mean, it's just fun, and they enjoy it because other people don't do that with them. So try humor if you can't do anything else. And if your husband cannot respond, try making faces at him. Try, like do silly things, make faces, blow bubbles at him, do something to get a response.
I love that, and we are going to talk about that as well, because nonverbals are a huge part of communication, all right? Every parent has given the, right? And it communicates legions, and so even creating the environment for your care partner who is the jokester, if you sort of anticipate the joke, then you can help them participate in what's funny about the conversation. I love that as a thought. So the most important thing for Joe and I is just that communication is important. And even though we have challenges, opting out is not an option.
So all the stuff that we're hitting on here, it touches on that very important point that communication is very important. I think this is on.
Oh, it is, okay.
It's just not
It's a comedy show.
in my mouth here. It's important for your health as well. It's if you're isolated, if you're not communicating, if you're not participating, if you're not seeing friends and family, it's not good for your health. It can lead to decline in not just your ability to speak and use your voice, but also to think and find the right words and to facilitate conversation and to connect with each other. And, there are other things like high blood pressure, heart disease, obesity, weakened immune function, increase in anxiety, depression, dementia, and death. Less communication is correlated with poor outcomes in all these areas. So,
Communication good, social isolation bad. Yes, ma'am.
there you go.
I can't see the slides up there, they're very faint. Is what you're saying reflected on the slides?
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
What you're saying is up there?
Yes, that basically social isolation leads to poor healthcare outcomes. And beyond just anxiety and depression, but blood pressure and heart disease. Thank you, Dr. Sklarov. And so that, we talk about connection, but connection is emotional, but it's also physical health.
So these are some of the changes that folks can anticipate with these diagnoses. There's a lot of overlap between MSA, CBS, and PSP. The volume of the voice will tend to get a little bit lower. It'll be more difficult to project and be loud. The voice may get tired. The voice may feel or sound strained and harsh. It can also impact the speech intelligibility. It may become slurred and less precise. Prosody might not be a word that everybody's familiar with, but it's about inflection and intonation and conveying meaning through how we inflect and how we use our tone of voice. So all these areas are going to impact one's ability to be heard and understood. So there is a lot of overlap, but you can see on the right that there's, with CBS and PSP, there also can be some difficulty finding the right words, and kind of halting or hesitant speech with big emotional swings and some memory concerns as well.
What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, what you gonna do about it?
So this slide is in the handouts that we gave you. We wanted to leave you with the most functional things, and we're going to go over these things individually quickly in the next 5 to 8 minutes. Thank you, Marie. We're going to go over these things quickly and are available at any time in the future via email to double down or to help you specifically with what you might need. Oops, right. So 2. I'll get it someday. Okay, so mainly the biggest thing is to plan for effective communication, right? You want to find the right time to have important conversations. You want to make sure that you're not, when your medicine is off or you're exhausted, talking about, who's going to get your grandmother's china. Like, save the important stuff for when you have the energy for the important conversations, like why you think that your daughter might consider a trial separation or whatever. I'm not talking to anybody specifically in the room, but save your energy for the important times.
And plan ahead. If you know you got that conversation scheduled loosely for 5 o'clock, be ready for it, rest up for it.
You also want to make sure that you minimize distractions, right? So as you were saying before, if it's hard to be heard, and that's a frustration, because we all get irritated when we have to repeat ourselves. Right? So make sure the TV's off. Make sure that you're making eye contact with the person who is communicating with you. Make sure you're using reflective speech so that you say, I heard you, Jack. I think what I heard you say was you prefer to leave for Thanksgiving on Tuesday, not Wednesday, correct? So you're checking for understanding. Make sure that you have that person's attention to minimize the frustrations that can arise.
Indeed. And if you are having trouble being loud or heard or projecting your voice, consider using amplification. These are 2 suave fellas up here with a microphone that just kind of rests on the ear, and it's just placed right there, and the amplifier is small, lightweight. It's effective. It's a good strategy to consider if you're having trouble projecting your voice.
And also you can use it if you're like a go out to dinner kind of person. You can put the speaker on the table. You don't have to keep it on your person. And so then it's closer to the people who want to hear you. So we talked about this a little bit, saliva management. So just, reminding your communication partner to be actively swallowing during a conversation so that it's not like, oh, now I have to swallow before it's my turn to talk. So swallow before you talk, but also prep that. Like, I'm a person who has some excessive saliva. I need to be swallowing a lot, at coffee hour so that I can participate. You can also talk to your physician about Botox.
So there's a lot out there to supplement communication. We were talking about what communication is, and it's not just speech and using your voice and your words. It's gesture. It's using, if you have things like this, communication boards, with simple photos that convey exactly what emotion you are feeling and you want to get across.
Thank you. Oh my
Oh, nice.
Look at that, girl.
So Heather's passing around something that's already been
Actually,
passed
some
around.
in your, Maggie included them already in your packet.
So
Great
letter
lines.
boards, those can be very effective. You don't have to spell out every word that you're trying to get across. You can, in fact, just point to the first letter and say it at the same time. If your speech isn't totally precise and clear, the first letter of the word is going to allow the listener to fill in the missing pieces because we know what it starts with. If you establish the context, the category, hey, we're talking about what we're doing on Wednesday evening, then, hey, if you don't hear every single speech sound, your brain is going to fill in the missing pieces because you know the context, or you know the first letter of the word that you are speaking. So, and it can also help slow the rate if the speech does tend to get a little bit too fast. If you have to point to the first letter, it's also going to slow things down. So it can really be an effective way, and it doesn't involve any technology whatsoever. It's just a piece of paper. So it can be
I
effective.
prefer Zinfandel. Thank you.
There you go. Yeah, and you'll get the hang of it if you use it. It's organized. It's got the vowels, and then it's alphabetical order, left to right. So it's intuitive. If you practice it a little bit, you'll be effective and pretty fast with it. So
Yeah, and you can also get and so really quickly, I think at the last event we talked about pacing boards, but it's really hard. The hardest thing to get someone to do is to get them to slow down their speech, especially when we're used to trying to communicate with a ton of inflection, and we use rate of speech to get our point across. So this is good for slowing down your speech, but then also something called a pacing board, right? So you just go, I want to go to the dining room tonight, right? So it just it gets the person to intentionally be very intentional with their words, which kind of just solves a multitude of problems. And I know, so those are called pacing boards, and they're listed on the handout as well, but something to consider for improving functional communication. This is your wheelhouse, man. I'm
Yeah.
gonna let you take.
okay, do we want to prioritize? I think we're almost out of time.
We are.
What should we prioritize here, or should we close? So we were just talking about the letterboard.
Yeah.
That's no technology whatsoever. Neither is this communication board. It's got some photos that can help convey meaning, but you can see on this little slide here that it can go all the way to using high-tech stuff like an iPad. Some text-to-speech applications where you can decide what you want to say and hit play on the button. You can even save phrases that you use commonly. We just want you to know that there's a lot out there that can help supplement communication and compensate for the challenges that you may or may not be going through with communication.
And honestly, the rest of the things that we were going to talk about are listed in your packet. They're pretty self-explanatory. I do have one question before we hand it over to Marie. Has anybody had a consult for what we call an AAC device, a device that you can use to for your voice, recording your own voice, so that if you ever get to a point where it's easier to press a button to say thank you or I love you? Has anybody had that experience? Any familiarity with those devices? Tried one? Yeah.
Something we did, my husband is a poet, and he has published a poetry book, and he always had the poems memorized. So early on, my son had it professionally recorded him reciting, and I see a lot of people early in the journey, and while you are able to still speak, do a record. You can do YouTube or, and what you're saying, find something professionally done. But if you can record your voice like those jokes, I don't know if he's able to on his own still say them. But if there's anything you truly love, storytelling, memories, get them recorded while you're able to speak.
Right.
Well
And-
said, yes.
And we'll end with that. That was beautiful. I do want to I see a hand, I'm sorry. Apple technology, like what's going on with AI right now, if you spend the time to pre-record the sentences, you can recreate your voice so beautifully. You can circumvent even a lot of these really expensive programs that are listed up here just by using Apple. Yes, Jessica?
CurePSP, we just put out our very first blog post last week or the week before on AAC and voice banking technology with lots of different options for that, and I'll walk you through it.
Yeah.
For PSPCB and MSA, so that's out on our website right now, if that would be helpful.
Awesome.
So
Please
check
that.
out check out CurePSP's most recent blog on AAC devices and voice banking.
Maggie's giving us the hook like on the Showtime at the Apollo. So the Sandman has come. Thank you for your time.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, Heather.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Heather. Want to make sure I've got our next stuff. I know, but I have a slide for you. There we go. All right, we're back on. This is Marie Curtis, and she is one of our occupational therapists on our interdisciplinary team here at UNC.
Hi, and if it's okay, I'll grab one of these. Let's see. Hello. All right, I'm going to try to keep everyone awake. I did bring my 4-year-old daughter who is coloring currently, so we may have some extra interaction, but that's what we want to talk about, is that social interaction and getting out of the home, because that intergenerational aspect is so important. It's not just important for you as an individual, but it's so important for our children and for everyone. It is a way that you can continue to contribute to society each and every day. We all have a role to play while we're here, and we want to make sure that we're out and about and we're filling that role. I did want to add on, we had some overlapping ideas in a good way. So that's when you know things aren't falling through the cracks. So the handout that you have in your folder is on the next sheet, it's topics. So that way, if you're having trouble getting the words out or those words being heard, that way you can point to the topic. You're talking about your friends, or you're talking about feelings or hobbies. And that way, when the person has a little context, it can be helpful to hear. So this is that quick and easy way to get your point across to someone so that you can get out, you socialize, and it may be the symptoms progress a little quicker than we were expecting. We may not have all the apps quite set up, and you have this paper reference for you. Also, the paper reference can be good for the grandkids, right? So it makes it simple and easy. They're not staring at the screen necessarily. So it's a good thing just to keep on hand. So we do want everyone getting out, being a part of the community, and we want to make sure that we go through the logistics of that. So I do have the handout, and by I mean Maggie organized this for us. But if you can find it, it has a transport chair as the first item. Great. So with the transport chair, we're thinking of that immediate aspect, and really just for one activity out in the community. We do not want anyone to hang out for too long in these chairs. They're really a temporary use item. So if there's a soccer game and a friend or a family member is giving you a ride there, this is lightweight and easy to put into the car. And if you have any skin concerns, you definitely want to have a cushion that's appropriate for you. Now, this will be when you connect with your PT or your OT that has a specialization with the different kind of wheelchairs. But some of the special custom-made chairs can take a little while to get in place. So we want to have something in the immediate so you can get out of the home. And if anyone has any questions or comments that they want to add, please just raise your hand so that we can interact together. Yes.
So Dave still has a lot of mobility and doesn't actually need the wheelchair all the time. We use it in places that are larger like this. But one thing we're kind of glad that we did was we actually bought that thing a couple of years ago, and he also worked with a physical therapist to learn how to operate it, because it's not as easy as it looks. And it's been very helpful for us to have 2 years to get accustomed to it as he grows closer to the time where he's going to be needing it more often.
That is a very good point. So definitely working with your therapist, working with your neurologist, and making sure you get a good fit. It's very key. All right, our next item that we have on here is to help with those transfers in and out of the car. So it can be tricky. The car seat's made to keep you in that bucket. It's tilted back a little bit. The cushions are built up on either side, and it's hard to get out. And we want to be mindful of the people who are helping with that, to get us in and out and to protect our backs as much as we can. So this little piece of fabric can help with that sliding. And I think we actually had a training program over the weekend, last weekend, and this was actually brought up in the PT breakout session as well. So it just helps with that moving. So it helps to slide the hips to make it a little bit easier to get in and out. Yes.
So, okay, looking at getting into the car. So when you're able to use the car and get in and out, just moving from the wheelchair into the car, there is a handle when you open the car door that hooks into the side of the door. And so then you can you have something to hold on to move in. Are you familiar with that handle? And that saved, I mean, that was so good for your mobility to balance to get in. That was a real easy thing to do. Yeah.
Absolutely. And sometimes you can buy a little kit too. When you look it up on Amazon, it'll give you different options that relate. So very good point. Hi.
So I've been using that for a while, and it's great. That hook thing, it's just one, looks like a little can opener, and it's just terrific. And you keep it in the side of the car, the side pocket of the car. And
If you get thrown into the river,
yeah. Well, the next time I get thrown into the river, I'll remember that. Boy, I could have used that last year. Fortunately, I know how to swim, but still. Yeah, what I was going to say, another handy thing to go in hand with that hook is keep the window partially open so you can grab onto the window frame, and you use the one hand on the window frame and the other hand on that device, and then you've got
there you go.
you got a way to steady yourself.
The tape, blue tape over the top of the door there.
It's
and somehow it fit him better.
That's too much technology for me. Okay.
But you need that to get into the car.
With the handle.
I mean, but you need
Do you have, can you look it up real quick? I don't remember what it is. Yes. A handy bar. Yes. I love this discussion.
Cane is apparently another name for it, car cane.
Very good. I love this discussion. This is great. And why we come here, so we can get ideas from each other. Good. All right, our next one on the item. So sometimes a concern can be that impulsivity. And this came to mind because one of our case studies from last weekend was an individual who kept getting out of the car quickly. He was able to do it, and we want to keep that independence. But when the driver would get out of the car to go around, he would pop out quicker and had falls a little bit more often than we would like, right? Because we don't want to have falls at all. So this can be helpful to be able to lock that seatbelt, and it slows us down a little bit so that someone can be there around to help us to get in and out. All right, our next item, and I don't know about y'all, but we tend to lose things in my home a lot. Trick-or-treating last night, we got a lot of emails about some Elsa wands. We got, the gadget for the ninja or the Minecraft character, but a lot of items that are around the neighborhood. So if you have any concerns, you want to get out, you want to be a part of community, maybe going to the fair, but you're worried about that jacket you took off. Air tags are a great way to find things. I keep them on my car keys, and I can find them. It's a game in our house, is where are mommy's keys? So can also be fun with the kids, right? Good. All right, and I have heard this time and time again is I used to love going to this one restaurant, but the building is not accessible because I'm using my wheelchair or my rollator or U-step. It's in a historic building and they don't necessarily have to change the entrance. So one option can be to have your own ramp. And this is one example. I know I used Amazon pictures, but honestly, Amazon just makes it easy to find everything. So this is one option where you can use these ramps. It could be going to a friend's house. I know we were going to host an event at my home, and I have 4 steps to get in. And so we were actually going to borrow a portable ramp so that people could get in and out safely. So this can be a way, the holidays are coming up. We want you to go to Thanksgiving, to all the different holiday gatherings with your family or with your family that's not your genetic family too, right? Get out there with your friends. So these are ways to get into homes, to get into those restaurants. They even have little ones. So if you have a little lip to get in and out of the shower, I've had someone be able to do that. Does anyone else have ones to add? Yes.
Something we put in, of course, you can put in a lift. You can put in a platform lift, and it's very good. It's in the garage, so it's covered, and that's been a life changer. So you can just get him right up and into the house. But you can make adaptations, and you need them.
And I'll just make a quick plug for Hope Renovations that's in the lobby. If anybody hasn't stopped by to see them, that's their whole goal, is making modifications to people's homes.
Absolutely. Right? And I don't know, when I was house shopping, if there was some adaptations added to a home, it made it more desirable to me, but maybe I have a unique perspective. A lot of them you can change pretty easily too. If we're thinking about selling the home in a couple of years, they can be pretty easy to revert back. And I think that Hope Connection, am I saying it right? Hope Renovation would definitely have a good eye for that. So that's a good company to work with. All right, the next one. I am a low vision specialist, so I love to talk about lighting. It's one of my favorite topics. So on here we have some different lights because it may be that you enjoy going for a stroll after dinner, and that is something that's important to you. I know a lot of, it's actually recommended after we eat sometimes to get out and about and let the food digest. It helps us with that switch to that parasympathetic state, which allows our body to absorb some of the nutrition too. It may be that, it may be trick-or-treating last night. I don't know who out here went trick-or-treating, but we definitely could have used a few more night lights or flashlights. It can also be helpful inside the home too, if you're trying to navigate and get to the bathroom in the middle of the night. And so this top one is just to add a flashlight to your wheelchair. Sorry, that's my daughter storing her artwork. And then what I like about this other one down here too, under the bed, it's a motion detector light. So you have it right there under the bed. When you turn to get your feet on the floor to get up in the middle of the night, it turns that light on. And then that way we're able to see a little bit more clearly for our footing as we take steps. We also, of course, want to have our mobility devices, especially with walking in the middle of the night. Definitely taking our time then, letting our body adjust to being up, and then also just being mindful that the bathroom, if we have a fall in the bathroom, we're more likely to have to go to the hospital. Oh, you're good. Okay.
Marie has seen it. We use Tub Cut. And so if you do need to adapt a bathtub to a walk-in, Tub Cut of the Carolinas was very affordable. They cut out part of your tub. It works if you can't afford to redo.
Awesome. I've heard many great things about Marie.
2 Marie OTs in the room.
All right, the next one is our shoe. So another way, if you have to get up in the middle of the night, you need to get to the bathroom, you don't want to slip and slide, these are great shoes. You don't have to bend down to put them in. You stick your foot in and the back pops up. I wish I had a different OT here. Her name's Valerie, but she bought her own pair so she could show her patients how easily you can pop your foot in and out. There are some off-brands, so you can get them a little cheaper now too, but they're great. I haven't had anyone who's disliked them yet. Has anyone tried any different shoes they can pop in and out?
We have them, and they're too hard. They're hard. We bought these exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but they don't pop up real well.
Oh.
I don't know.
They're not popping up when you put your foot in.
It's just hard to get them. I just have to tug and pull.
Oh.
The cheaper ones at Aldi's that just, you can, anyway. That's just what we found. Maybe we got the wrong, ours were made real tough. I don't know. But they're worth a try.
I've been using Kisses for a while, and, oh, okay, thank you. I've been using Kizzix for a while, and my physical therapist, I was having trouble getting in as well. It didn't pop back. And the best thing I ever got was that shoehorn that's, looks like for the Jolly Green Giant, right? And real long one, which helps. But another thing that helps is elastic shoelaces.
Yes.
When I didn't do it on these, but I have another pair where I'm replacing them, and I could then stretch them on that end. So that's another way of doing. That's another way of doing.
That's the old school way. I like it. Those shoe horns and the elastic shoelaces. Exactly. Yeah. All right. And on the back, I am going to put a big plug in for that bathroom safety piece. So turning and getting on and off that toilet, I have heard time and time again where someone thinks that they're right there at the toilet, but they miss it just a little bit and get stuck between the toilet and the wall. It's not fun. Yeah. So even if you don't feel like you need it, you haven't had any issues, I would go ahead and recommend looking at getting some rails just to help guide that tush right on the potty.
The other thing that was really good is getting a raised seat screwed in. You have to get it screwed in with the handles. So the raised seat, has the handles and you're right there. So it doesn't move around. And so you don't have to sit, you're just right there. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. All right, and our last one is getting our tushy nice and clean. We're thinking about a bidet. I'm excited when I get to renovate my bathroom because I'm going to get a really nice bidet. You can get them heated. You can get them more low-key where it's hooked up to the sink and then you just have something to spray, or you can get something that's a little bit more fancy. There's different kind of knobs. You can get heating. You can get something that dries. A lot of different options, but we definitely want to think about skin integrity and keeping clean as well. This also just takes a little bit of a load off on some of our caregivers and care partners as well.
I can't say enough for bidets. I think it's the most sensible thing for adult and senior adult care.
I use mine when I don't have to go.
Well, good. I think we're good on time. Yeah. Well, enough of that potty talk. I'm going to pass it. Oh, I'm so sorry. One more.
Just one slightly negative thing. We always think out our new houses and then realize we didn't. We have off the main bathroom, we have a small toilet room. And that door should never open in. If you fall down in there, you're trapped.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to look at your bathroom.
The doors up, yeah, that's
Yes.
smart.
Very good point. And actually, the house I bought, the half bath, they had changed that door. Not very well, like it needs to still be repainted, but that was one of the things I really liked because they thought about that. So good. All right, I'm going to pass it back over.
I'd love to invite the other Marie, if you'd like to just come up here and like introduce yourself in case people are local to Orange County, so people know who you are and the services you provide.
Hello, thank you, and nice to meet you, Marie.
You as well.
I feel like we have interacted in the same spaces for, it feels like years now.
I agree.
But haven't had the chance to meet in person. So always exciting to meet, one, another Marie, and two, a Marie who's an OT. But yeah, for those of you who have not had the opportunity to meet, my name is Marie Dagger. I'm an occupational therapist with the Orange County Department on Aging. And so I have the opportunity to work in community-based practice. So I am outside of the clinical setting. But if you are an Orange County resident and at least age 55, I am able to come out and do a what we call a home safety consultation. So I can come out to your home, get to know you a little bit, understand what's going on in your world, and then we will walk room by room through your house, noticing what areas of challenge you've had, what potential areas of challenge I see, and then brainstorm together about what potential solutions might be. And then after the fact, I will write you up a nice little report of all of the recommendations that we've talked through, send you some great Amazon links just like these, adding a few more things to my repertoire here today. And yeah, so that's just a free service for Orange County residents. If you're outside of Orange County, unfortunately, there aren't too many free options. I do know a few OTs who own their own business that might be able to support you, so definitely let me know if that's a resource you're looking for, or I can let Maggie know about that as well.
Thank you
But nice
for-
to meet you all. Please don't everybody email me at the same time. We'll be scheduling for 6 months, but just know that I'm available.
Yeah, thank you for letting me put you on the spot. But yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. I wish we had a Marie for every single county. Yeah, so we really wish for that. But if that is something you're interested in, thank you. I'm your person to connect with, and we will find resources that are close to you. That's our goal. There are places where help is really limited, but that's not going to stop us from trying to find the people who can help. So, with that being said, we are gonna, close out our day. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming today and for engaging and participating. We know it was a long morning, afternoon, and so really thank you for sticking it out. We want to say a huge thank you to CurePSP, who we could not do this event without. They really were able to financially support us in making this a beautiful venue and delicious food that we got to have. So really thank you to CurePSP and all of our vendors. I hope you are able to meet with them today.
Maggie stole my thunder. Thank you all for coming. No, that was great. And again, thank you to CurePSP and the Friday Center, and Maggie, of course, another big round of applause. And to all of our speakers who took time out of their day and had to plan really far in advance to get here and share all their amazing skills with you and all the handouts. So I hope it's been helpful, and we are hopeful we can put on more events in the future, and would love to hear feedback and would love to hear ideas for future events that might be helpful and useful for everybody. And again, thank you for all of our sponsors. Do we have the other page on there? Yeah. So these are all of our vendors, and we had Yep. Right, who are not on here, but they also are out there if you want to speak with them as well. Did we go past it? Okay, this one. All right, and thank you for we did, yes.
I wanted to thank you, Dr. Sparrow, for your leadership.
Thank you. That's very kind. Thank you, very sweet. Again, I had a lot of support. So, and thank you we did have some private donors that made this possible. It made the recording possible that we will be posting on the UNC website and I believe on our YouTube.
On our YouTube page.
Our YouTube page, and CurePSP will also be posting on their somewhere on their website. But you guys were here, so you don't have to worry about it. But in case you want to watch it again. All right. That's it.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Enjoy your weekend.